Why, hello and welcome back to another episode of Voice of the Rings. I am your hosting guide, Zollin Ironshield, and this is a LOTR update. I'm gonna make this one real quick. There is a new announcement about the Amazon Lord of the Rings MMO that they got the rights for again, even though they lost them 2 years ago, and then they decided to get them back. I want to talk about just a couple things on that for an update. I have 2 videos already on my Zollin's opinion. They go into 2 different articles in detail, but this is just going to be an update one across the board. Okay, so again, they have the rights. Just so put it off right off the top so people don't get worried. LOTR has its own rights separately. Lord of the Rings Online, the games we cover a lot here on this channel. Don't worry about that. In this new Lord of the Rings MMO, if Amazon does actually come through and do it, it's going to be 3 or 4 years, if not longer, until it's out. So keep that in mind. So it could be good. Here are my hopes. So my hopes for this game is that it will focus on, it would be great if it would focus on bringing in more people into the Lord of the Rings genre and MMOs in general. I would also really hope that it is truthful, respectful to Tolkien's lore, right? So you're not just taking names from his books of locations and people and items and substances like mithril and just throwing them in and then just doing a totally different fantasy world, right? It's not really LOTR then. It's not really an MMO. Now, if you watch my opinions playlist, Zollin's Opinion, I did talk about an article that kind of seems like their goal is to kind of, the quote from the CEO is, he also hinted that the game won't be quite as faithful to J.R.R. Tolkien's writings. A little bit worrisome there, because that was one of the reasons why I think a lot of people had a negative view of the Amazon's Rings of Power series, personally. Now, the gaming industry and the Prime Video industry are in separate areas under Amazon, right? When like shipping is another thing. They have like separate corporate groups. They also made a comment that this game will not be, they don't want to put it as the same as Rings of Power, like a Second Age game. I think they already made a comment that it is going to be a Third Age game. I'm going to link an article for you if you want to look at the details, but that they are going to put it in the Third Age, but they don't really want to do it with the books. So I'm like, how are they going to do that? I'm not sure. But anyway, just giving you the facts that I've heard so far. So my hopes are that it will be faithful in the feeling of being Middle-earth. I would rather it not be a more classic MMO, because we have good classic MMOs. We have LOTR, we have World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, Guild Wars 2. It's probably going to obviously lean more towards New World, since that's their other MMO that they have, and their Arc one. Now, as you all know, New World had a lot of troubles originally, big troubles. Things that LOTR and World of Warcraft and other games have just experienced and have not had those kind of horrible, catastrophic failures. But, I mean, they've had problems in the past, of course. I'm not going to say they're not. LOTR's had lag issues. They've all had problems. But I played New World when it first came out. It had horrible lag, too, and it's a brand new engine, so what's up with that? Anyway, so those are my hopes. Again, my worries are that it would be a cash grab, that it's not going to be at all. It's just going to be a fantasy world with Tolkien names slapped on locations. I hope that's not the case, but that's a worry, obviously. There are parts, obviously, in the Rings of Power series that I felt like that was the case, where they kind of just slapped on names on new characters, kind of redid characters' personalities entirely. Name, location. Some of the locations were fantastic in Rings of Power, I will say. Again, there was stuff I enjoyed. I want everyone to know that I will support a game if it's good, or a series, when I watch it, right? And I'm someone that's really glass half full. A lot of people will watch something and one big thing will bother them and they'll just throw the whole thing out, right? I get that. Now with me with Rings of Power, a lot of it's thrown out because there were so many things like that for me that bothered me, including the mithril thing that I didn't like, as you all know if you watch my reviews. So it worries me just a little bit with the Lord of the Rings game. Now, does it worry me that it could affect LOTR in the future? Well, of course. Now, again, LOTR is an older game. Do I think LOTR is going to die and go anywhere? And no, I think we have many more years of Lord of the Rings Online MMO that we love here on the channel. I think it'll be around a long time. In fact, it's growing right now and getting a lot of love and updates. And I would love to see, with technology evolving, that it could evolve into a new engine or something even in the future. Who knows, right? Who knows? Depends on stuff, right? It's got such a hardcore fan base and a decent amount of players. It's not that tiny. That it's good. Again, you get a lot of if you notice, a lot of hardcore Tolkien people who really love Tolkien's content around the world usually play LOTR if they like video games and MMOs, obviously, because it's so faithful to Tolkien's stuff, even the stuff they make up, because LOTR makes up a lot of stuff, but it's really faithful to what Tolkien's world. It doesn't clash. We talked about that in one of my other videos. Clashing is an issue sometimes, right? Clashing can be really, really bad when they just add something completely random, right? That just goes against the lore entirely. Like the whole thing with Mithril, like in Rings of Power, right? Like how the elves needed to survive. What? That's not what that whole thing is happening with the elves. That's not how that works. That's completely against the lore. So that's like, it's fine to take something and do a creative twist on it, but if you want to keep it to Tolkien, it has to have some elements of his basis of story, right? Which LOTR does a good job of that. So again, my worries are things they'll mess up, things like that. My expectations are about the same as like New World was. Maybe they'll have a little bit more experience, so it'll be a little bit better. That would be cool. You know, have a little bit more finesse without the massive glitches that New World had, because New World is actually a pretty good game still. I'm not attacking it. It didn't hold my attention very long though, but obviously I play a lot of other games too. It's hard because, you know, games are all trying to vie for our time, right? And we only have so much time to play video games. And look I even do a channel that focuses a lot on that, which is kind of like my work, and I still don't have the time to play them all, right? So imagine people, right, with our normal 9-to-5 jobs, which I have had too, so I understand. Why now I've got a 24-hour job. I'm constantly making content and doing things and uploading things, so but I enjoy it. That's what makes that makes it worth it. Is there a small chance, I wrote here, that it could be good, right? And would it affect our book series? We have to remember too, for this LOTR update, it will not affect our Tolkien books we already have. I think a lot of people are like, just don't make any more. I get that, right? But you know what? Better a shot in the dark than nothing for new content, right? Now, would I prefer it being made by someone that I would know would make it 100% faithfully? Yes. But again, it's not going to affect our LOTR game that's already here. They already got their rights, right? They're good. It's not going to be affecting, our books or our Peter Jackson adaptations or the Hobbit movies, right? Just like the Rings of Power didn't. Again, some people really enjoyed the Rings of Power. I'm not attacking. If you liked it, that's great. There are parts I enjoyed. There are a lot of parts I really did not enjoy. But you know what? I'm still rooting for, maybe they do a great job with season 2 and hit it out of the park. But remember, people aren't going to forget. It's like people going up to play baseball and a guy strikes out 3 times season 1, right? It's just like, it's like, well, they did some good things, but that was pretty terrible, right? We were really it's like the word is, a lot of my other friends on YouTube here, other YouTubers have been using this word and I agree with it and I like it. Underwhelming. Okay. It was underwhelming. It was like, darn it. Like it could have been so much better, but it was fine. It was entertaining to an extent, but in of course the stuff that changed extremely and clashed, I didn't like at all. But who knew? Season 2, they hit it out of the park. Same thing with this MMO coming out. I'd be really, really amazed if it was just gorgeous and, they had the feeling of Middle Earth and they tied in the stories correctly. And, maybe they make their stories up completely to themselves, but they all respect Tolkien's writing and stuff. But I'm not holding my breath for that. So anyway, those are my hopes, worries. But again, it's going to be no skin off our teeth anyway, because our stuff will still be here, except it would be great to get new content that we enjoy. But again, we will be also playing the Goo Gollum game on the channel and also the Return of the Moria that are coming out much sooner than 4 or 5 years from now, because again, this will be a long time before this Amazon MMO for Lord of the Rings comes out, if they make it. Anyway, quick update for you. That was a fast. I have 2 more in-depth Zollin's opinions if you want to go hear that whole conversation But thank you to my Patreons. I'll see you all in the next episodes of Voice of the Rings. Stay happy, my friends. Don't worry about this stuff. Again, it's no skin off our teeth. And if it is good, heck yeah, good job on Amazon if it's great. I'd be so down. And if it's not, unfortunately, we're going to have to tell you, Amazon, it's not good. But if it's great, we'll root for you. All right? I feel like that's pretty darn fair, all things considered. All right, guys, have a great day in Middle Earth, and I'll see you all in the next episodes of Voice of the Rings. Baruch Hazad, Kuzar Emmanuel.